So this question, as I said, is on the strengthening an argument. So they have given some passage, says which of the following statements, if true, provides the best evidence that city's council plan will be successful. So let's look at what the plan is and all of that. The City Council of Amagal has proposed establishing toll booths on all the major routes into the city. So they are trying to take an action to put up a lot of toll booths. The council's reasoning, what is the reason that they are coming up, is that this fee will force many commuters, people who travel, to switch from private automobiles to the public transportation system. So the purpose or the reason behind putting up this toll booth so that they charge more money from the commuters is that if they have to spend more money on it, they will shift from private automobiles like cars and all to public transportation system. So that's good for the city, that's what they believe, so they are doing it. The question is asking which of the following statements, if true, provides the best evidence, right? So it should support that the city council plan will be successful. So you have to say, hey, that's a good idea because of one more point. I believe this point also agrees that, whatever it is. So let's look at most of the citizens of Amagal support the new plan. Okay, so they are supporting the new plan. Doesn't mean that it will be, see, underlying reason is something that people might not know. Just might be like, okay, fine, I am okay with you putting up more toll booths, I am ready to pay. That's what the support means. Doesn't mean that they are supporting this shift part, right? Several other cities have attempted to implement the scheme in the past with mixed results. So, I mean, okay, some got success, some got failure. It has nothing to do, say that this will be successful, right? Currently, the average private commuter car spends 1 hour and 45 minutes in the commute into the city. Okay, so they are spending 1 hour 45 minutes in the private commute. So what? I mean, does that the purpose, the success? What is the success? What is the success situation for the city council's plan? That is, people stop using the private automobiles and start shifting to the public transportation system because of increased money that they have to pay at the toll booths. So this is not talking about the money part and shifting to the public, right? It's still just saying some information that they take more time. Do I know how much time it takes to travel in public transportation? No, right? Maybe more than that. How do we know that? We don't know that. A new study suggests that many commuters with car would switch to public transportation. It's what it's talking about. Switch to public transportation if driving in the city became any more expensive. If it becomes more expensive, even a bit, right? The commuters are ready to shift or switch to public transportation. This is what they are doing, right? They are adding a toll booth so that the cost of traveling will go up for the customers or the users or the citizens of the city, so that they would find it better to do public transportation. That's what this one looks like, the perfect answer actually to me. But let's still see. The price of gasoline is projected to plummet in the next few months. Okay, so like it can go up, go down, doesn't have any problem, in respect to the plan of city's plan to be successful, right? So if people are ready to pay whatever it is and they're still sticking to the private automobiles, even if the toll booths have been set up, even if the prices go up, the gasoline prices, it's okay. Even if it go down, they don't mind. So it's basically like, not a relevant one. For us, if you look at that, out of all the options which would, support the given situation based on the given story, the best option would be option D for us, where the people are saying that if the survey study says that if people actually, find it any more costly, they will shift to the public transportation. So if the gasoline price goes down, plummet is like, see the dip, the bottom or lowest point sort of. So people will still be okay to stick to the private, because even if the toll booth price go up, they are ready to pay more because their prices of gasoline has gone down. So this is not going to help this plan to be successful. So there's only one option which is going to help you to strengthen it, that is option D. Let's look at the second one. So beavers use twigs to construct dams. Different regional populations of beavers will use different techniques for constructing dams, right? So they are talking about different region based beavers have different techniques for constructing the dams. Researchers studying beaver construction techniques have found that regional populations of beavers use different construction techniques, right? So they are saying the researchers have analyzed and found that the regional population of beavers use different construction techniques. So within the region, right, within the region itself, they are using different techniques. Researchers have concluded that these building techniques are culturally based rather than genetic. It's not genetical one. How is it getting passed down over the generations is more about the culture you are in, or the beavers are in, right? They're learning from their ancestors, like, rather than the society around them. They're not human, but I'm just saying it. Rather than the genetic, which would be like, it coming in their genes and all of that. So which of the following, if true, would more strengthen the conclusion drawn? What is the conclusion? The conclusion is this. The conclusion is that the building techniques that beavers follow are because of their culturally inhabited. Like us Indians are, let's say you're talking about Germans, talking about Australians, Russians, every country people have their own culture based on which they have certain traits that they've built. It's part of the society they have been brought up with and all of that. It's not that it comes from genes, right? If the same Indian is born in some other country and brought up in some other country, the behavior will be different. It's not genetical. That's what these guys have concluded. The building techniques are more of culture based stuff, right, rather than being the genetical stuff. So studies have shown that beavers are nearly as intelligent as dogs. So okay, they are, but that has nothing to do with the conclusion that the techniques are culturally based than the genetic, right? Young beavers cannot build dams alone and carefully mimic how their parents build them. This looks like what this is culturally part, right? All of us when we are kids, we look at our parents, we look at our people around us to learn how to behave, how to do that, and that's how we slowly start to believe as the right things and the wrong things. Similarly, young beavers cannot build dams alone. It's not genetic stuff. They are actually learning. Mimicking is copying, seeing how their parents are building them and doing it. Looks like the perfect a point that supports this, but still let's look at others. The dams built vary in their effectiveness in holding back water levels depending on the region's rainfall level. Absolutely an irrelevant and nonsense option to select, because the conclusion has nothing to do with what rainfall is, what water levels are, all none of that. The beaver populations are often located in mountainous regions that isolate population groups. So this one is talking about, the beaver populations are rather, like in different pockets. They are located in mountainous region that isolate. So it's not that they are all located in various places. They are located in small pockets in some isolated groups. So the techniques would not shift around them. But then again, this would not give me a proper, support for the part about genetic part, not genetic sort of it, right? So that's not being answered here. Yes, it sort of makes me feel that, okay, the beavers are located in certain pockets like this, and each group of beavers behave certain style in terms of building techniques because they don't get to communicate. The globalization is not there in a way, right, for them. So they are isolated and maybe they do this. This is not very bad option if you ask me. Out of the options after B, I think this is not bad. But the thing I have a problem is that the genetic is not being discussed here. This one at least says young beavers cannot build dams alone. They don't get it by birth. If it was genetic, people will get it. Rather they copy it, learn it as a culture from their parents and all. So this is not a very bad option, but then out of the two I've seen, I will pick B any day. The dam construction is primarily based on the water flow rates. Again, it's absolutely a nonsense option to pick, right? So out of the ones, I would definitely select B as the answer, which would be proper conclusion that young beavers cannot build the dams, so they copy from their parents. So it's more of a cultural thing than a genetic stuff, right? This one, according to a recent nationwide study by the education department, those students who played baseball performed much better academically than those who did not. So that's a summary of some survey that people who played baseball performed better in academics than the ones who did not. Thus, it's a conclusion that they're coming. It can be concluded that students should be encouraged to participate in sporting activities because this will have a direct bearing on their academic performance. So conclusion based on one study where they only focused on baseball, to be frank actually. They said they have done a study, the people who are playing baseball perform better than others in academic ones who did not play. So they are concluding that it's better to encourage people to play sports because this will have a direct bearing on their academic performance. So that's the argument they put. The argument is based on the performance in baseball. This survey is the argument. Hey, you see this survey, the people who played baseball have done better than the one who did not in education. So that's why we should encourage students to do more and more sports. Which of the following provide more support to the argument about? It should strengthen this argument. Playing baseball stimulates their brains and increase the rate of gray cell growth in the brain. This looks fine, but the problem is this, that it is only talking about baseball here. Rather, the main conclusion, the point would be that the students should be encouraged to participate in sporting activities. So this one is actually sort of countering it. Why? Because it is saying that playing baseball stimulates them. So you are talking positives of baseball. Does that actually give the same benefits if I do with other sports also? That is already a doubt we have, because the survey is done on baseball. Now you are saying it's not asking to encourage only baseball, it's saying to encourage all sporting activities. So I should rather find something which would say the sporting activities have some benefit in terms of education, right? Let's see. So I have a problem with this for the reason that it's again focusing only on the baseball, which will not give me the complete picture for the conclusion. Students who participated in the sports other than baseball also showed a marked improvement in the academic performance. This is what, as I said, talking about it. It's saying, hey, it's not only the baseball, it's the other sports as well where students have shown a good improvement in their academic performance. The education department study is representative of students nationwide. So this one is saying that they have done it at a national level, right? So this is a fair study that they have done. But still, this one is not a bad option in a way. That's the reason that it is saying that the survey it's done by education department for the students. It's done at a national level. It's a fair survey. It's not done only on one pocket, and maybe you can argue that, you know, what if this is not valid for all the students? Hey, you have done it in a school, though they have done nationwide. So they have clearly mentioned that. So it's representative of students nationwide. But what if it is not true for all the students? You can always argue it. But then this statement says don't worry because it's representative of students nationwide. But out of these two options for me, I'm still more favorable with this because the final conclusion is that students should be encouraged to participate in sporting activities. So I need to give an argument which would rather make it more complete by saying that it's not only baseball, even the other sports can give you positive improvement in the academic performance. Non-sporting activities such as painting and writing do not have similar positive effect on students' academic performance. Okay, so it's, yeah, maybe you can say, okay, because painting and writing do not have any impact, so let's focus on sports. Fine, but does not actually strengthen or support the argument. It's rather a positive point to talk, but not really strengthening the point. The number of students who play baseball in the country has been increasing at frenetic pace over the last. Okay, it has been increasing fast, better. So what? It has nothing to do with the conclusion that we are focusing on, that there is a good results in playing sports with respect to academics. So let's focus more on the sports as well. That's what the conclusion is. And out of all, this one is the best one, which says that it's not only baseball, there are other sports as well which can improve the performance in the academics level if people play sports. So that's why option B is the best option. C is not a bad option. I would not say that it is a wrong one. It is also sort of supporting the entire the story that we have, but it is not as strong as this because this is a very minor point. I already said a recent nationwide study. So it's saying that this study is valid for all the students nationwide. It's a true representation. It's a fair survey. But then rather than that, my focus has been that, hey, the survey is only on baseball. How can you say that it's good for focusing on all the sporting activities? This point will come and support it, saying that it's not just baseball, even the other sports also will show a marked improvement in the students' academic performance.